Good morning, traders. I'm Dennis Dick.
And I'm Joel L. Connon. Welcome to Pre-Market Info.
And we have a lot of pre-market info here today. Fed stress test results all coming out last night for your individual stocks. The banks are basically up, down, all over the place, all depending on their individual results. You had two financials, Ally and BB&T, both. The Fed rejected both of their capital plans. Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan must revise their capital plans, and everybody else's capital plans were okay. We'll break them down by the individual stocks here in just a moment. What about the overall market here, though, Joel?
Led Zeppelin, the song remains the same here. Another rally, multi-year highs yesterday, 1557 and a quarter. Yesterday's high, we've exceeded that in the pre-market. 1558.75 is our bogey on the upside. I like my three-star number on the bottom. I know it's kind of close, but 1554, the overnight low. I think we take that out, and we might have a little room down to Thursday's low at 1549, but we never go down. I mean, never.
Not on a quadruple witch,
never.
Joel. Do we ever have a open on a quadruple witch? It seems like it's almost standard that we have this slow, steady climb in the whole pre-market session. Open up almost every quadruple witch, and obviously that's happening here today with the futures and options.
I'm sorry I said that about the market going down. I mean,
yeah, you shouldn't even say stuff like that. Shame on you. You can't say the market's going down. Market never goes down. No, but in all seriousness here, we do have a quadruple witch that will add volatility into the open here, obviously, with your futures and options expirations. And sometimes it can offer the opportunistic trader some pretty good opportunities to put on some opening positions by participating in those opening prints. Joel, let's move on to these financials here, because you've got a couple trading down significantly here. Let's start with the big guns. Goldman Sachs, we might as well start with. Fed rejecting their not rejecting their capital plan, but saying that they have to do some revision to their capital plan. So Goldman Sachs' plan was okay, but they need to revise part of it. Not a lot of details out there from the Goldman Sachs plan, but it is trading down. You can see last night when that news broke, the stock actually went from 154 almost down to 150 bucks. Wow. Coming back here, trading around 152 this morning.
Yep, you did make an overnight low right at that 150 level, getting a bounce back up here, just hovering around 152. A pittance, 16,000 shares have traded, so not a big deal to knock the stock down that much. But let's look at it in the parameters of the daily here. We did find a major support here around the 146.5, 147 level. Managed to rebound, come back up, and not make new highs, even though the market did. And now you're coming back down to this 150 level. I know those lows are a little bit higher than that, 150.46, 150.58. Coincides nicely with the pre-market low. So looking to hold 150 here. If not, this is the major support in the 147 level. You don't have to worry about being long Goldman until we take out this 147 level.
And then you got JP Morgan, who also has to revise their plan. Actually, JP Morgan closed very strong, closing on the high of the move.
Look at that.
Yeah, there was some buy imbalances pressing some stocks into the close. Very strong buy imbalances. So what happened there right towards the end of the day? Ticked and actually closed on the high at 51 on that strong closing buy imbalance. The news obviously broke. JP Morgan has to revise their plans, and the stock sold off. Go back to that pre-market chart. You can see the vicious sell-off. There was some good news, though, in the JP Morgan plan. There is plans to initiate a $6 billion stock buyback. Plans to increase their dividend from 30 cents to 38 cents, their quarterly dividend. So lots of good news would be in there. Obviously, though, they have to do the revisions there to proceed with that plan. Although I think they said they can proceed with it, but they basically need to still revise the plan. So obviously, there's still some concerns there for the market, despite all the good news planned out of J.P. Morgan. That's why you see the other spike on the pre-market chart when they actually came out and said, "Oh, well, there's going to be a $6 billion stock buyback still, and the increase in the dividend," and then it spikes back up. But then the market got nervous, sold it off again. So kind of a wild after-hours session for J.P. Morgan.
you needed your seatbelt to be
You really
trading.
did, yeah.
Yeah, this stock
I made
here.
a couple trades on it too, actually. Benzinga helped me on this one. I'll just
Yay, Benzinga!
yeah, Benzinga did because they actually I've got my Benzinga newswire up there, and after it sold off, then it came out and said Benzinga broke that, but there was going to be a $6 billion stock buyback, and the 30 on the 38 on the increase in the dividend. I bought the stock at 49.90 right before I did that major spike, and guess what? When that spike happened, when CNBC pops on 2 minutes later, breaking that news, because Benzinga's always pretty quick at breaking the stuff. CNBC always seems to be a couple minutes because they're doing other segments, they're doing other things. CNBC comes on and breaks, and the stock spikes up to 50.90. So I actually sold it too soon.
What spike did you get out on?
The second spike up. The second yeah,
spike.
see the big
Good,
one there?
good.
Oh no, wait,
You
no,
must
that's
have
this
been-
morning. No,
you
no,
must
no.
have been
No, I'm
crying when
sorry.
it came back down to 50. I can hear you whining if you didn't get
Yeah,
out
no,
here.
no, the first spike. I got out on the first spike up there.
Okay,
You can't really
okay,
see it
good,
on that
good.
chart very well. It's faded out for some reason. But yeah, I bought at 49.91, I think it was. I sold at 50.35 and 50.40. I sold too soon. It went all the way up, I think, to 50.70 on that spike after
Yep.
CNBC broke that news. And I took a shot. I figured, maybe this actually, looked like it was. They weren't saying nothing on it. So you sometimes do get that CNBC spike afterwards. And I was able to profit from it in the after hours. But
Okay, let's look at the daily though on this, Dennis, because that overnight stuff is, for to traders that are willing to, stick their
Lot more
nose out,
risk,
obviously,
lot
with that
more
kind of
risk.
volatility. But what we got to focus on today here in JP Morgan is these lows around the $50 level here. You had a low at 49.91. You must have been looking at that when you got long last night. We held up, just traded below that in the pre-market, down 90 cents, not a ton of volume. I'd see what's going to happen at this $50 level. Wouldn't be surprised if we held there and started to migrate north. Below that 49.91 level, you do have another support point at 49.61, which was the low on the edge. So coming back on the upside, I mean, we got a buck to go back up to 51. You can bet your sweet bippies there'll be some offers in there at 51.
oh yeah,
Get back up
yeah.
there.
Bank America lifting substantially here. Fed accepting their plan. Stock is up 40 cents here in the pre-market. It's a huge move for Bank America.
That's a big move.
Yeah, $5 billion stock buyback being announced as well. Redeeming some preferred stock. The H and the BACH and the BAC or BMLP or Q they're redeeming. So obviously moving capital around. They're getting rid of that high preferred stock dividend that they have to pay and using it to looks like to buy back some stock here.
Look at just an example of like all the volume that trades here in this stock. Doesn't move. HFT guys going, making their hay. The news comes out, less liquidity. You get this stock move 50 cents. It usually takes like a month and a half to do that.
Big
You
move.
got a spike
Wow.
high up to 12.75. Come back down to 12.50. People, after hitting that 12.75 high, got their offers at 12.70, and we're starting to peel a little bit. But I like the way this looks from a daily chart here. We are trading above these highs. You had a 1244 high, and then you had a 1242 high. That's been the high of the move. So now you have all stock in here that's in the book. You know there's going to be a lot. Keep the eye on the open here, folks. We're trading above the high of the move. I think if we fall back below 1250, I wouldn't want to be long this stock because just as we look here in the intraday, there's nothing in here. There's nothing in here between 1250 and then you get into yesterday's range, and yesterday's high was way back at 1219. So 1220 should have a lot of bids if we do get back down there.
American Express actually increasing their quarterly dividend and also announcing a $4 billion stock buyback. So American Express got a good lift off this last night. But you can see trading up in all the way up, almost up to 66.5 there. But it's kind of just been sporadic trade here. Actually, no trades this morning, trading very quietly. Offered down at 65.87, so it doesn't look like it's going to get that much of a lift now.
Yeah, I mean, boy, but they're buying the stock back. I mean, at the top here. I mean, they could have picked a lot.
Don't
of
they
other
all
places.
do that?
Yeah, they could have picked a lot of other places to do it, but you did get a spike up here to 66.56 in the pre-market.
After hours
Pulled
last
back
night,
a little bit. Yeah, pre-market after hours. I just can't. really get a feel looking at this chart. Really doesn't do anything for me. Did have a double top at 65, 73, and 75. We're trading right at that area. So if you opening here, if it holds here, I expect it to continue to pop up. If not, you got to keep an eye on yesterday's range. 65.38 was the close, and 65.29 was yesterday's low. So pretty tight range in American Express yesterday.
Yeah, during the intraday for sure was tight. I mean, it does look like that 66 number could be irrelevant here still too, despite trading through it after hours last night. So that might be one level you want to keep an eye on. Citigroup also getting a lift here off of there, well, it was again last night. A lot of these ones that were lifting last night after they announced aren't lifting here this morning. You can see Citigroup, they announced a $1.2 billion stock buyback, and their plan was accepted by the Fed. It got over 48 bucks. Peeled back, traded a lot of stock, 47.60, now drifting down, is only now trading flat on the day. So somewhat concerning that some of these financials that really took off on their reports are not holding on to these gains.
Yeah, 48.12 he hit in the pre-market, just kind of drifting lower here. Just made a recent low at 47.45, just hovering above that. We'll keep an eye on that level here. Looking at the daily, this thing has had a real nice march. It's starting to run into some resistance. The recent high of the move was at 47.92. Could only get to 47.66 yesterday here. So 48 is getting to be a huge level on the upside. Yeah,
300.
Probably there's that $4.80.
Yeah, $4.80 after the reverse. 48 bucks has 300,000 shares. I can see in the New York book there. So that's going to give you some major resistance, probably early on in the 47.90s if this stock decides to lift up, or if it opens up, into that resistance area. Keep an eye on that level. Let's move on for the financials. I can just mention a few. USB announced a stock buyback. Discover Financial, DFS, another buyback. We'll just fly through these because we don't have time to go into each one individually. So many of them. But let's talk one more. BB&T. BBT actually did have their plan rejected by the Fed. That sold off significantly, is still trading down here this morning. So the only ones that got rejected were Ally Financial, which isn't publicly traded anymore, government-owned. I find that ironic that the government-owned Ally Financial has their Fed plan rejected, government Fed plan. But BB&T is publicly traded, obviously, and its plan was rejected here, so they've got to do some adjustments to their plan as well. Stock is trading down $1 here in the pre-market.
Yeah, it did have some minor support here just above the 31 level. We've taken that out. I really like this $30 level. Multiple lows there at the end of February. Yeah, that'd be a pretty good shellacking to take it down there. I think ahead of that. Yeah, it could. Ahead of that, 35 was the pre-market low, so that's your number ahead of that old critical support at $30.
So that's the majority of your financials. Obviously, if you're trading any financial, make sure you know if they obviously had their stress test results are released, and make sure you know if they're good or bad. Let's move on to the earnings stocks because a couple were reporting earnings. Let's start with Aeropostale, ARO. They beat by a couple cents, but the market's not loving it here, selling it off here after hours, selling it off, continuing to sell off here this morning in the pre-market. 1370 is where it's trading right now after closing at 1451.
Yep, big move. Took it down to 1340 in the pre-market, getting a little reprieve here. Haven't been able to quite get back to the $14 level. We can use that as resistance. A little disappointing here. Earnings have knocking the stock down after a major run from 12.5 up to over 1479 yesterday. We're not even near yesterday's range here. We are trading under $14. You do have a low here at 1347 or 1362, so call that 1350 area critical. If not, I think you'll be taking it down here. The major support at a double bottom, 1304, 1305. Back in March 5th and March 6th.
Is it that much of a surprise, though, that the market's disappointed with Aeropostale earnings, considering American Eagle Outfitters reported there just about a week and a half ago, and they knocked that stock down, I think, 15% AEO. on their earnings report. So, I mean, if you were using that as a gauge, you knew probably Aeropostale wasn't going to blow the numbers away here. But the market doesn't. Aeropostale slowly climbs back up to those highs and sells off. So, a little bit inefficient, I think the market was engaging that earnings report by running it up ahead of time when American Eagle disappointed. Those two businesses very, very close. Krispy Kreme donuts here, Joel. They reported earnings in line. I'm somewhat disappointed. I want to see them beat because Phil Pearlman was saying over on StockTwits that he was going to eat 30 donuts in an hour if they beat. But that was the rumor anyways. But I guess Phil will have to see his eating escapades of those donuts some other time. But regardless, Krispy Kreme reported inline earnings. The guidance was not great. They actually say they raised guidance, but I don't know how this is a raise. They were estimated at 49 to 55. They're raising to 53 to 57. I guess that's kind of an raise. But estimates were up at 55 cents anyways. So, I mean, it's kind of the wording saying raising guidance, but I don't really consider that a guidance raise either, and the market's not buying it. And the stock's trading down here this morning, trading down at 14.14 after closing at 14.95.
Yeah, Spike took it down to $14. Nice round number, getting a bounce here up to $14.20. So that's going to be very, very minor resistance and minor support. Looking at the dailies here, nice run, blew through the 13 handle, blew through the 14 handle, coming back to roost here. Under $14, folks. I see a lot of green. Well, that green could be replaced with red today. As you don't have a support down to $13.31. So after this $14 level, I just don't like it in here. If you can get it, any kind of a bounce up here, you did have multiple lows at the $14.50 area before it broke down. So if it can rally 30, 40 cents, I think you find some major resistance.
The big gun is trading back up at resistance again. Joel Apple here this morning on CNBC. Bill Miller announcing that he is overweight the stock. The stock got a lift after he announced that. It's trading up 437.84 right now, but you've been citing this whole 438, 439 area for the past few days. It keeps getting up here. Is today the day it takes it out, or is it going to fail there again?
It's really, I mean, this thing has had some rallies in the morning, and then just the volume just tapers off, and it just falls back. You did break through a double top though, 434.5 to 64 Wednesdays and Thursdays highs, trading $3 above that. So if you are shorting off the open or looking for an opportunity to get long Apple today, perhaps the 435 area would be a nice entry point. Banking on the door of another double top at Monday and Tuesday's highs here. We just got up to there in the pre-market, got to 438.80. So real excellent level at 439. I like 435. And then when I was doing the numbers on the stock yesterday, I looked and I'm like, well, where's the low? The low's got to be in the 420s. And nope, the low was 430.45. So I think you're starting to get some accumulation here. I don't think we're going to be going back under the 430 level. If you've been playing this from the long side, you want to try and lock in a little bit of profits at 430's major support. You get to this 439 level, and you got some room to run on the upside.
Yeah, there's a little bit of air up there to that 450 level, it looks like to me as well. Google, Joel, we might as well talk about it. It's actually, these two stocks are starting to reverse course. Google has been going up every day, Apple down every day. Not the case here the last 3 or 4 trading sessions. Google has been showing some weakness where Apple has been showing some strength. Is that pair trade reversing and starting to head the other direction?
Maybe. I mean, if you're looking at it from a technical basis, yeah, I mean, the fundamentals are still kind of murky. But this stock, after that, making 844 high, couldn't get back in the 840 handle. You've had 4 lower highs and 3 lower lows. Not a good trend. I mean, what you short traders would love to see if this thing just whoosh through this area and go back down to that 805 low. But that's not the way this market trades. It grinds its way down. But don't see a lot of support here below 1817.39. But that doesn't mean it's not going to take a couple weeks. I'm just thinking from like a herd stampede mentality. Got all these people long over 800. I'm long. This is going to 1,000. don't you think it has to inflict some pain that people that got long in this 800 handle and come down there and test that over the
There's
next couple
always a
weeks?
shakeout. That's the whole thing. You get the short-term herd that's basically, jumping into something and it pumps the stock up, and eventually those traders usually lose money and they shake them out. And it hasn't had a shakeout yet, so it wouldn't surprise me if you're right. If it does have some type of shakeout, that could happen here eventually. I mean, we've been pretty much straight up since that 630 area, so straight up 200 points. It's hard for something to go straight up another 200 points. I mean, Apple kind of was doing it when it was going from 400 to 700, and then we saw how that ended. So, is Google fairly valued here at 821? Possibly. It's always hard to say what fair value even really is. But from a technical perspective, it's had a hell of a run here, and maybe it is time for a breather.
Kevin just wanted to mention there was a huge option play around 835, 840. I think maybe someone putting on a huge call spread.
Oh, yeah.
Getting a little giddy here.
They were calling a top, were they there, Kevin? Maybe they were calling a top. Calling it.
No, or they just thought the move was going to continue if they bought the calls up there. But those are tough to play. Keep an eye on yesterday's low, 18, 17. 39.
A couple quick numbers we'll give you on some of the Big Ten because we are running short on time. Procter and Gamble we can start with here. 77.5 remains absolutely enormous resistance for this stock. We are on option expiration here. We'll have to see if the opening print can press it through that level or not. But that level remains major resistance here. It's fun. I don't know even how many times, 5, 6, 7 times we've topped out there just under 77.5.
Okay, and the other one too, T. Look at this, man. Look at all those highs here. I don't know if they're leaning on the sellers at 37 or 36. Yeah, 36.90. Multiple highs here. Had the strong close right in there. Don't everyone is shorted on the close. I'm sure they're going to be looking to cover this on the open. Major support at 36.50.
Okay, so just to sum up, we do have option expiration. These days do tend to be skewed to the upside at the open, so some of these stocks could potentially open into resistance, which could get you some nice setups here. So just be aware, there is going to be some volatility here off the bat if you're trading at the open. And obviously we had a strong close and we get a strong open. Combined with that, there is that potential that the market could get back some of those gains. That's our show for today, guys. Have a great trading session. We will be back with you on Monday.